Hey guys, this is Oshi and this is going to be a VR2 Ramon and Giselle actually, both of their channels, and the specific video will be linked down below. I know the hashtag is like more than 3 months old, but I just watched Giselle's video finally and I really liked the prompts, her answers, so obviously I decided to do it because, you know, why not? This is what you get when you don't spend enough time with YouTube. So yeah, I hope this is still, you know, like interesting to watch. I always admire people when they come up with really good hashtags, because we go round and round around these decks like all the time, yet there are people who can come up with new tags, which is like, you know, I think it's kind of similar to writing music, because you would think that everything was already written under the sun, and then there comes someone and creates something new, and you're like, what? How? So even though we're not as excessive with, you know, tarot cards, it kind of gives me the same feeling. So I think I'm hoping to list all the prompts down below. So if you haven't filmed a response, you can actually do it. I summarized the questions, so I'm not gonna type it out because I'm lazy. But, you know, if you watch the original video, then you can actually see the questions in their correct form. So there are 10 prompts. The first one is, which card is the most inspiring to you and why? And I had to go, by the way, I'm using the Lightseers Tarot, the Hungarian edition, so it's the Fényes Árnyék Tarot. I had to choose the High Priestess, which is Főpapnó in Hungarian. Not just because this is the card that is my connection to the deck. This is the card that I feel the most connected to, but because this is the card that I'm aspiring to be. So I know I'm not a High Priestess yet, but I hope that by the time my life ends, because I don't think it's gonna happen before that, I will come as close to being a High Priestess as possible. I don't know, I cannot explain why, but I connected to her the moment that I heard what the card meaning was at that course that I took like a few years back. And the feeling never disappeared, even though, you know, this was like literally the third card that I ever heard about in detail. So, you know, there's a bunch of others that I could have heard about and switched my interest or connection to, but it never happened. And I have the number 2 tattooed on my wrist before. I had it long before I knew about tarot, so it wasn't because of that. But it kind of made sense, and I just liked the connection that, hey, it's number 2 is High Priestess and I have a number 2 tattoo. So yeah, this is the card that inspires me the most. I hope I will be as cool, as wise, as knowledgeable, as clever, and sometimes cunning in a good way, as a High Priestess is. So, you know, it's not a, oh, I'm so good and I'm aiming to be a saint kind of card. And plus, she's very powerful, so maybe, you know, I still need a lot of work, obviously, but I just enjoy the energy, and I like I said, I hope one day I will be like the High Priestess. Okay, the second one is, what is the most distressing and why? There are quite a few cards that I could have chosen, but the first one that came to mind was the Ten of Swords. Now, in this deck, the Ten of Swords is not as bad as it could have been. Like, I understand why the original one was changed, even though I think that represented something very powerful, but obviously, you know, I'm not the one who should say if it's right or wrong to have that version in the deck, just from the outside, and that's the only thing that I can offer. And that was a very powerful Ten of Swords, but that's still not how and why, or how I read the card, and why I chosen this one as to be the distressing one, because the original one was absolutely about getting up after you reached rock bottom. And why this card distresses me is because most of the time in readings, especially readings I made for myself, this was representing the moment when you're hitting rock bottom, when you're in there. And this, there's no guarantee that you'll ever get up. And I reached quite a few rock bottoms in my life already, and I know how freaking hard it is to get up. And the distress comes from knowing that, it could be that one time I will do a reading and I will have this card and that will be the end of it and I won't be able to get up. And tarot is a useful tool, tarot is wonderful, but tarot doesn't lie, it doesn't mess around, and when you need to hear something, obviously you need to hear it. But it doesn't mean that you can always handle what you're being told, or you can just be like, okay, I hit another rock bottom. I don't see how things can ever get better, but hey, I can, find a sliver of hope and continue. That's not how it always happens. And this card, not this depiction, but this card represents that energy for me. So I rather have a tower in a reading, because at least with the tower I know that something is not right, but it's gonna help me to correct courses. This one sometimes have that what's it called in English, the road that it stops at the end and you cannot go forward. I don't know the English name, but you guys know what I mean. It reminds me of that, and yeah, that's not a good feeling. I don't enjoy it. Okay, we all have to have at least one card that freaks us out, I think, in tarot, because otherwise we're not doing the work. The third question is, which one is the most enigmatic and why? And I could have chosen pretty much, I think, all of the court cards from this suit, but I just chose the Queen of Cups because why not? And being an enigmatic is because this is all about not just being in charge of your emotions, but actually know how to handle them, know how to allow yourself to feel everything and not get lost in those emotions. And me, who's an airhead, who lives in their head and, have a very hard problem or, like a big problem to just experience or feel emotions. This is the one that I'm like, how do you do that? I really am not, I wasn't cut out from the same cloth as anybody who is living their life through their emotions. I admire that. I think it's very, very wonderful, because I do feel that if you have a way to access and express your emotions much more regularly, even if you suffer more deeply, you feel more deeply. And I think it, at least that's how I would imagine, or how it looks like from the outside, that gives you a way to handle the negative stuff after a while. Maybe not easier, but maybe like more of an expert, like that, oh, I'm going through something horrible emotionally, but I know what to do to help myself heal. And me, as a first time allowing myself to go down there, it's a very, very difficult. It's not easy. So like, how do you deal with emotions in a way that is not consuming you, that even if you go through hardship, you're still able to stay open and generous with your energy and with your love and help others? It's just mind-blowing to me. And like I said, I admire everyone who lives their life through the emotions. Okay, fourth question. If there would be a time capsule put in the earth for, I think, 1,000 years, and there would be one card that you want to show to future humans, which one would be and why? And I chose, why is it so hard to flip? It's still a bit new. I chose the Six of Cups. Reason being because I hope that in the future, there's gonna be a future, but two, we will be able to not just look at the past and be like, oh, we did horrible things, because obviously we did, but we would actually start to learn from them, from the mistakes, not just necessarily the mistakes, but from the experiences. We will learn from them and apply those lessons and what's the word? I'm at loss of words today. Interesting. Mercury is not even retrograde anymore. But you know, all the consequences and all the lessons we learned, we actually applied, the good, the bad, everything. And we would live a more harmonious life, because if you actually deal with your past and you build in those experiences into who you are, like a little judgment moment, then you can be a much more healed or more complete person, I guess, and that would be nice for humankind as well. So I'm still hoping that we will learn from our past in a way that will help us actually grow and not just destroy, like ourselves, because fingers crossed. Okay, fifth one. If there would be a new country and I would be elected as president, I would love that. We just thought I shouldn't be one. Plus, the second, which card would be chosen as a flag representing this country? And I went with what Giselle chose, and I really like this image. Because at first I was like, what is it that, I want to represent within a new country? What principle or value is the most important? And I think friendship, support in general, being supportive, being empathetic towards others I think it should be a basic, foundational thing for every country. It's not, unfortunately. And this is such a beautiful image. I love the colors. I love the lilac-y feel. I love the tattoos. I just love okay, you can see the age, but you can at least see some skin color variation. But I can imagine whatever faces I want on the other side. It doesn't have to be all females either. It can be anything. One of them could be like a robot even. But it's support, it's understanding, it's acceptance. And if the core value is support, I think that would be a wonderful thing to just live in a country like that. I would love to live in a country like that. Currently not happening. Okay, the sixth one. If I would be chosen, like all the fancy titles that I'm getting, Earth's ambassador, representing humankind, which card would I choose as to show to like aliens that this is us? And for me it was easy. That's the Fool, because we have the potential to be idiots. We have the potential to be like kings and wonderful people. We just have the potential to be so many things, and I wouldn't want to limit us by saying that, hey, we are the, I don't know, 5 of Swords or 7 of Swords or 8 of Swords or 3 of Pentacles or something like that, because those are just one aspect of us as humans. But I think of the Fool embodies that primal potential that we all have when we are born. Because we all want to achieve wonderful things, but we, as like a collective, we do horrible things as well. And you never know until it actually happens which one is, okay, sometimes you already know, but with big ideas, you never know how they are gonna play out. There could be just one person who dreamed something wonderful, and then that idea got twisted and turned into something horrible, but the idea or the starting point wasn't evil. So sometimes we are idiots, like big capital letter idiots. So I think, the Fool represents humankind nicely. Okay, next one, 7th question is a card that represents someone that I love and why. And I almost went with a card that would represent myself, and I wanted to talk about loving myself, because that was a hard journey to reach. But when I think about my mom, how can I not, how can I be that selfish and talk about myself? I need to talk about my mom. And I just love this card, this image. She's so freaking beautiful, and I love how peaceful she is. But I love the duality of this card for me, because when I read it as a representation of human beings, I read it as Mrs. Weasley from Harry Potter. I know that the Queen of Pentacles is someone who can be very stylish and, live an extravagant life, but because I don't value those things that much, I guess that's why I just don't care about that aspect of the card. As in, I still assign these titles to people who are not living a rich life, whose abundance doesn't come from the financial part of life. Because for me, Mrs. Weasley represents everything you want from a mom. Someone who cares about you, someone who's always there for you if you need an ear to listen, someone who would die for you. Because that's what a mother should be. And I know not a lot of people doesn't have that, but I do. And this card represents that for me beautifully. Plus, I don't know, I think in the past year or so, this card specifically took on the role of showing, when it showed up in a reading, and it wasn't about, like a family member, or it had nothing to do with humans, because the question wasn't like that. It always made me think and feel like this card is representing the divine, Mother Earth, or, just the divine energy that is caring, that is there to support me or whoever the reading was for. So it is my earthly mother and my divine mother, only one. So of course this is representing the one mother that I love the most, and that's my mom. So I don't know, I hope it makes sense. Because yeah, I do love my mom. Okay, oh, the next one. That was a really good one. Which card would be the cover of my autobiography? And that was, I almost went with the Tower, just like Giselle did. But when she started explaining why she chose the Tower for herself, I realized that mine would be a very depressing autobiography if I would choose the Tower, because my choice for the card would be all the shit that I went through and how unexpected and how life altering all of them were. But that's not a good thing. It's not something that I want to be as the cover of my autobiography, because I want it to be focusing on the fact that I survived those Tower moments. And yeah, it was very, very hard. It was a very hard-earned hope that I have now. But, and I'm not saying that the next Tower moment will, just bring the star afterwards easily with it. But so far I managed to come back and still hope that life will be good, or, like nice, or I don't even know what's the word I'm looking for, warm towards me, and my life won't just be about the things that I've lost, but it's gonna be about the thing that I will find because of the experiences I went through with all the Tower moments and everything before that. So yeah, I would like it to be the star, especially because I'm an Aquarius, so it's my card as well in the tarot, so it's kind of nicely fitting. And I like this image actually. So yeah, I mean, the star really has that deep sorrowful meaning or feeling as well. It's not about oh, I'm hoping that everything's gonna be fine, la 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 energy. It's about deciding and choosing to hope that there is a better future, even though you went through absolute hell. And I think that's a very, very powerful card. And yeah, that would be my cover. Okay, the ninth one is which minor arcana I would elect or alleviate as to the status of a major one. And that would be the Ten of Pentacles. Reason being because this represents family for me. And yes, there's the lover's card, which is about your choice and love, but it's more about romantic love most of the time. But we have the mother card and the father, like archetype cards and all that. But we even have, you know, community with the Hierophant. But none of the cards are, at least to me, speaking about family. And I think family is such a you know, it's an important card for all of us, or important thing for all of us, even if, or especially if we don't have what we imagine family is, the lack of it, the dysfunctionality of it, or the abundance of it, the connections, the love that comes with the right family, creating your own. It's such an important part of the human experience that this one, in some sort of or way or form, should be major as well. Okay, and the last one is, if you could mentor one of the pages, which one would be and why? And that was kind of easy. This was, you know, like the Page of Swords. And why? Because I'm an airhead, like I said. I live my life most of it, even though I'm really trying to, you know, like stop that. But I lived most of my life in my head. I tried to solve all my emotional problems in my head. So why I would mentor someone as the Page of Swords is because maybe, hopefully, I could say that, you know, not telling them how to be better at intellectual things, but I think I've seen enough points, like breaking points in my life, where I chose to stay in my head instead of actually going down into my body and experiencing things on the physical, like earthly level, so to speak, that I could just point those out, those traps, to someone who tends to do the same, you know, like, hey, like, don't try to solve, I don't know, a breakup or, you know, like a loss. If you're losing someone, because everyone loses someone at some point, don't try to deal with your grief in your head, or don't try to just get a checklist and try to solve how you feel according to those, but actually allow yourself to cry, allow yourself to just be with those emotions, to sit with them, because it's very, very hard. And we have a tendency, obviously, to avoid everything that's hard, because who wants to suffer? No one. But to live a more fuller human experience, you have to do those things. So hopefully I could help with that. And I think I would learn along the line as well. So, you know, mentoring is not just about teaching someone, but it's about being the student in the situation, or in return as well. So that would be useful for me as well. But yeah, okay, I think this is all. Hopefully it wasn't, you know, too long or boring or whatever. I hope you enjoyed it. I really do love this deck, and I like the Hungarian version, even though it's still a bit like, as you can see, it's not as what's the word, easy to shuffle, because I haven't used it enough. So it's a bit more rose petal-y, not rose petal-y exactly, but smooth, that it sticks together for a while. But the images are a tiny bit larger than the original one, so I'm enjoying that. But yeah, this was, oh, let's say here with this one. This was my response to the #1 tarot card. Please check out the original one and Giselle's video as well, because, you know, I love Giselle, so you should love her too. that's how it works. But yeah, thanks so much for being here, and see you in the next one. Bye!